Hey VC, what's up? It's me, yours truly. I am back to post a quick video here. Back to do a What's Been Spinning video, something I haven't done in a little while now. What's Been Spinning, where I just kind of share the albums that I've been spinning since the last What's Been Spinning video. As always, these are the albums that I actually set and listen to from front to back, not just a song here or there or stream something here or there. So these are the ones I kind of set back and took in. So we'll just kind of jump right into it. One cassette, few CDs. We'll start off with those. We'll start off here with the one and only Y&T. You know, just such a legendary, what I like to refer to as party rock kind of band. And this one, fits right in that label. Favorite song off of this is probably "Summertime Girls." Love that track off of this. So that was a great little spin. CD wise, the one and only Benny King, kind of a best of. Gave this a spin about a week or two ago. Of course, "Stand By Me," "There Goes My Baby," "Save the Last Dance for Me." Just another one of the, absolute R&B legends from back in the day. Next, my boy, Lionel Richie. Love, love, love me some Lionel. Love this album, too. It's a really kind of great compilation here. One or two things from the Commodores era off of here, like "Sail On," but, a lot of his 80s hits here. It's stuff like "Penny Lover," "Easy," "All Night Long," "Do It to Me One More Time," or "Do It to Me," "My Destiny." Just a lot of great, great stuff on here. Always love going back to that CD. Played that a lot over the years. And the one and only The Pretenders, "Learning to Crawl," their classic album here. "Middle of the Road," "Back on the Chain Gang," so much great, great, great stuff on there. Nice little Mo-Fi CD there. And a little bit of country here too. Dan Carter here. Another kind of fun one, just that good, just kind of storytelling, type of country. This album is called "Did I Shave My Legs for This," which is probably my favorite song off the track. Just kind of a funny little thing where she's talking about, basically her guy that's kind of a bum and not really paying her any attention, and she just keeps asking, like, "Did I actually shave my legs for this?" kind of thing. So real funny thing, but yeah, great, great country album right there. Hadn't spun that one in a while. Moving on to vinyl. A lot of things down here you guys are probably already familiar with, but this is what I've been spinning. I actually spun this one yesterday. Nine Inch Nails, "Pretty Hate Machine." Absolute classic. You guys know this one, where you have "Head Like a Hole." "Sanctified," on and on. Entire side one is just a banger on this one right here. But yeah, that's an awesome, awesome Nine Inch Nails from 1989. That's always a good spin. This was from 2011, "Handsome Furs," Sound Capital. Another really cool album there. It's kind of on an orangish vinyl. I guess kind of like I said it's 2011, but it's kind of like a synth popish kind of thing. But discovered them way back in the day. Little Capitola 6 here. Another cool one I hadn't spun in a little while. Italian band, I believe, kind of a prog rock type of thing. This came out in like 72, somewhere around there. But yeah, just kind of some cool prog rock type of stuff. Like I said, I think they're an Italian band. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a good thing they have reissues. I mean, I wish this wasn't original because, OGs of this go for like 6-7 grand plus, but you can get a nice reissue for 20-30 bucks. But yeah, so if you're into prog rock, you probably already know this band. But if not, definitely check them out. Kind of a cool little thing there. Another classic album, Nazareth, "Hair of the Dog." I'm sure you guys know this one all too well. One of just my absolute favorite classic rock bands. Or actually, we have bands, but more so albums. What I'm thinking. It's just the feel of this album just has so much awesome, dirty, gritty, hard rock punch, especially when you're talking about the early to mid 70s. With songs like "Hair of the Dog" and "Changing Times" and stuff like that. Just awesome, awesome album. Never get tired of listening to that one. Another kind of modern day metal band. Of course, you have Gojira. Awesome, awesome band. Again, those of you that know me know that I love Godsmack. And one of the reasons I love Godsmack is because it's just kind of the big rhythmic walls of sound is the way I like to describe that type of metal that they do. And Gojira they nail that as well. Just very big, rhythmic, groovy type of stuff. So songs like Stranded, if you haven't heard that before, definitely one to check out. Yeah, I mean, just awesome, awesome album. So yeah, definitely check them out if you're not familiar with them. Arguably my favorite Rainbow album. I know you're not supposed to say that with, Dio and all that type of stuff, but this is just a killer rock album right here. Rainbow Down to Earth. I listen to this definitely more than any other Rainbow album. Yeah, it's just something about, Graham Bonnet's vocal, man. It's just, I don't know, it just fits so well with what Blackmore was doing at the time. So songs like, All Night Long and Since You've Been Gone, just like great, great rock songs. So again, another fantastic one there. Tracy Chapman's debut always gets a lot of, hoopla, but sometimes we forget about some of her later stuff too, like Crossroads. Another great album here from 1989. And again, just Tracy kind of doing Tracy. I don't know why they don't get around to like pressing some of her later stuff on vinyl too, but maybe at some point they will. But little compilation here, spun this yesterday, Hurt So Bad, just kind of a 1960 to 65 kind of soul compilation. It's stuff like Ike and Tina and Mary Johnson, Little Anthony and the Imperial, stuff like that. So again, just kind of a nice little fun spin from yesterday. And a little bit of the Megadeth, I think, that sometimes gets lost in Mustaine's discography. But Dystopia, this is a really, really solid album. This came out in 2016, I believe. But like I said, I think just kind of through all of his albums, this is one that gets a little bit left behind, but very, very solid. And one of my favorite Megadeth covers, too. So definitely like that one. Back to the awesomeness of the 80s, Quarter Flash. Another great one here. This is their release from 1981. Of course, it had the big hit Harden My Heart on here. Love Quarter Flash. Oh, what's her name's vocals are just that perfect 80s. And I don't have to say anything about this one. The Police, Ghost and Machine. I mean, Police, you guys know that album all too well. Just, again, another classic one. And another one I kind of go back to on a pretty regular basis, Airborne. Another fantastic one here. This is Running Wild. This is their release from 2007. And I've always said, if you, for some reason, do not know Airborne, if you are an AC/DC fan, you need to go dive into Airborne. Because everything that Airborne does sounds like AC/DC was recording in a studio somewhere for 20 or 30 years. All the songs that they crumbled up and threw in the trash because they didn't have room on the album, Airborne snuck in that night, pulled the songs out of the trash, and did it themselves. I mean, they will fool you so easy into thinking you're listening to an AC/DC album over and over again, and they do it, frankly, just as well as AC/DC. So if you're not familiar with them, definitely check them out. I definitely recommend starting with the song What's Eating You. Definitely my favorite by them, and never get tired of listening to that one. How about some little 90s fun here? Case Choice, Paradise in Me. Another good one here. Another one of those bands that kind of came around in the mid-90s. They had that song on here, Not an Addict, which I just absolutely love. I remember back in the day, that song just drew me in. Just a lot of feel and emotion in that song. So really, really cool stuff. And another one I actually spin quite a bit, Joni Mitchell, Blue Highlights. This is an RSD from 2023, and it's just some live recordings of her doing, just Joni stuff. And I tell you what, this to me is one of the best live recordings that I think I have in my entire collection. It's just something about this just captures Joni just right, and the pressing is great and all of that. It's like when I think about just best live albums that sound the best in my collection, this is probably number one or number two easily. And kind of nice that it's not like an expensive record. I mean, I think probably get it for like still $20-something, even though it's say it was an RSD. But yeah, really, really great stuff. I highly recommend that album. Back to a little old school R&B. Well, I guess 80s R&B, not really old school. I mean, even though it was almost 40 years ago now. But Anita Baker, Rapture, another fantastic one. She became really big in the mid-80s with songs like Caught Up in the Rapture, Been So Long. Yeah, I mean, just Yeah, really, really legendary 80s R&B albums if you were into R&B back in the 80s. And how about a little nice piece of free jazz right here? A little Don Cherry, another great one by him, 1967. Um, you also had what Jenny Clark on bass, Edward Blackwell on drums, Pharoah Sanders, on sax, and yeah, just another really, really great one. If you're into the free jazz thing, this is kind of where they just let go and do their thing and just have some amazing feelings that come out through this album. So another great one there. One of my favorite soundtracks right here when you start talking about stuff outside of the 80s, From Dusk Till Dawn. Love this one. Just captures a lot of different flavors of stuff that was in the movie, especially a lot of the stuff that kind of had the like the Latin flavor to it. Yeah, just a lot of really, really great stuff on here. So this is always one that I kind of go back to quite a bit. I've been going through the Bruce Springsteen box set and finally got around to spinning this. This was actually maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. And again, it's just another one that I kind of felt like, yeah, it's okay. I mean, nothing out of the box set has totally blown me away. But it's always kind of cool hearing new Bruce stuff. So that one wasn't too bad. Of course, Madonna. You guys know this one. This is her release from 1983. Of course, on here you had Lucky Star, Borderline, Holiday. Just back when Madonna was really making her mark on pop culture for sure. Next here, how about a little Stevie Nicks, Stand Back, a little Walmart exclusive there. 2019, and again, this was just kind of basically a greatest hits, 2 LP greatest hits. So of course you have, Edge of 17, Stop Dragging My Heart Around, Rooms on Fire, Stand Back, Talk to Me. Just, a lot of stuff you'd expect on a greatest hits by Stevie Nicks. So another fun listen there. And arguably one of my absolute favorite soundtracks of all time, which is Grease 2. And yes, I love giving this thing a spin. Fun music. I love every single song on it. I love singing every single song on it to the top of my lungs. This is one that just gets a lot of rotation for me. So I'm a child of the 80s. And like I said, absolutely one of my favorite soundtracks right there. Mazzy Star, they finally got around to reissuing this. So I think it's like last month or something like that. But this is their 1990 release. I can't say I have like one absolute favorite song off of here. This is just another one where you just really kind of get to experience what made Mazzy Star kind of cool, plain and simple. So glad they finally got around to reissuing that. An album I think that gets a little overlooked in Prince's catalog, which is Parade. Really, really great album. This was like this was 2 albums after Purple Rain. So he'd already became really, really big. Then he did Around the World, and I think this was after that. Of course, you had the big hit Kiss off of here, which is kind of the song that everyone knows. Arguably my least favorite song on the album. But stuff like Mountains, fantastic track, or even more so, Sometimes It Snows in April. I think the intro through the first verse of that song, going all the way to the second verse, is arguably the most beautiful thing that Prince ever wrote and laid down. It's just something about that track and that intro along with that first verse is just absolutely beautiful. Yeah, so little Prince and the Revolution there. I think it was 86 when that came out. And the one and only Black Album. I definitely find myself going back and revisiting that from time to time. Of course, 1981. This is a Vertigo Swirl, which is kind of nice. But yeah, another album that everyone knows, a lot of people can get sick of and all that type of stuff. But it is that one of those albums that every time you go back to it and you throw it on your stereo and you crank it, it's heavy, it punches, it hits. I mean, just a really, really solid album. So yeah, that's the Black Album, of course. And then here we have the Bangles. Another legendary group from the 80s that made the 80s so great. Big hit off of this was, I guess, Eternal Flame, and In Your Room was also on this one as well. So yeah, another one that just kind of makes you wish for the days that the 80s would come back. Another legendary guitarist right here, Mr. Gary Moore, a guy that could definitely riff. Did a lot of great stuff with rock, a lot of great stuff on the blues side. This is definitely my favorite album by him, which is Corridor of Power. Favorite song is Cold Hearted, just kind of again, big, awesome rock riff type of song. If you're not familiar with him or a lot of his stuff, or or this album, start off with Cold Hearted. If you dig that song, dive into the rest of the album there. That's a really good one. And a little compilation series, Loma. This is what, volume 4, 1964 to 68. I guess kind of a small label, just kind of that small, awesome, some of that awesome 60s R&B stuff that never was gigantic hits, but still was just like amazing music. And this is just kind of a compilation series of that. And so this is volume 4. I actually just ended up finding volume 1 not too long ago, so I have all 4 of them now, which is nice. But yeah, great series if you're into that kind of thing. So definitely check that out if you're not familiar with it. Tribe Called Quest, one of the greatest hip hop groups of all time. This is the anthology, so just the greatest hits. Even just starting with side 1, Check the Rhyme, Bonita Applebaum, Award Tour, Can I Kick It, Scenario. I mean, side 1 alone, we haven't even gotten to the other 3 sides yet. Just a banger of a greatest hits album right there. Kind of getting into some of the hair, I don't necessarily say hair metal, kind of big, kind of arena rock hair, whatever you want to call it, but loudness. Awesome Asian band, the album Hurricane Eyes. This from '87, and definitely has my favorite song by them on this, which is Rock and Roll Gypsy. I love that song. It's just kind of like that big arena party rock type of stuff. So, really nice Japanese pressing of that there. The Boys, Whitesnake Greatest Hits. I mean, Whitesnake's Greatest Hits, what do you have to say? Again, another band that, got tons of airtime back in the MTV days. We've heard the songs a million times over. But it's another one where when you throw it on, and I'm telling you, you crank it, and it's like, yes, you've heard Still of the Night a gazillion times in your lifetime. But every time you throw it on again, it's big, and it hits, and it rocks, and you just remember just what made it so freaking amazing, along with everything else. So great 2 LP there. Nice greatest hits for Whitesnake. Next here, we'll go to a band that's been in the news a little bit over the past month or so. Coldplay, Rush of Blood to the Head. Again, another really good album. Came out in 2002. And they had some great stuff on here. They had the song Clocks, which was, I guess, kind of the bigger hit off of this. My favorite song is probably Warning Sign. I remember when I first got into Coldplay, that was one of the songs that really drew me in. Just a nice, beautiful piece, well delivered, and love it. So that's Coldplay. Here's a good one too. Will to Power. Another one which I was actually lucky to pick up a couple of months ago, about a month or 2 ago, something like that. Because I saw it sitting on the shelf my buddy has a small shop, and I was in there, and it was sitting on the shelf. He only had like $10 on it. And I was like, I know that album, but I don't know that album. But I know it, but I don't know it. And after I picked it up and discovered what it actually was, I was like, oh, yes. I think most people will remember them from the song Baby I Love Your Way / Freebird Melody. That was kind of, I think, the big video rotation hit song that they had. But they were kind of like an upbeat, dancey, electronic-y, funky type of thing. Really kind of hard to describe, but yeah, just a really, really great listen. Great flashback to the mid-'80s. So that's Will to Power. And Fleetwood Mac. And this, of course, is their release from, 74? Heroes Are Hard to Find. And it's kind of funny, too, because I had listened to this album years and years and years ago, and just didn't have it in my collection. And I found it a few weeks ago, and I think I showed it in a recent finds video. And then I ended up listening to it again, and it's like so much better than I remember. I mean, it was like, so much better than I remember. Like, I was almost just impressed, and I was like, I do not remember this album being as good as it was. But I mean, of course, it's Fleetwood Mac, and sometimes you just have to go back and revisit, and then you'll always find that awesomeness inside of what they did. Four Tops Greatest Hits. Again, you can see all the titles there. One of the great bands from back in the Motown era. Got about 5 more here. Talking Heads, another classic. You guys know this one. That's their release from '86. I won't have to go into that. Wild Nothing, Gemini, another one that pops up in my What's Been Spinning videos quite a bit. Great album. A 2010 release. A favorite song off of this is definitely Summer Holiday. Another recent band, like this is 2010, but like another more up-to-date band that's doing stuff that gives a really, really strong 80s like pop, synth pop kind of feel. And the cool thing about this one is there's been 3 different times I've played this album at the shop, and every time I've played it, someone has bought it. One time we had it in stock, and the other 2 times they came up to the counter and asked me to order it. So yeah, like I said, I've sold 3 copies of this the 3 times I took it to work and played it at the shop. So that, yeah, there's just something about it that just really, really draws that awesome 80s feel that made synth pop so big in the 80s. Speaking of which, Real Life, this is Heartland. Of course, you guys remember the song Send Me an Angel from the movie Rad. Well, that was Real Life, and that song was off of this album. So that's Real Life. And you got 4 more here. The Black Crowes. Again, Shake Your Money Maker. This was their debut, 1990. Again, just awesome, straight up southern hard classic rock type of album. Twice as Hard, Jealous Again, Hard to Handle, She Talks to Angels. Just banger after banger. So another good one there. And then you have some more nice 80s stuff here. Planet P. This from 1983. Probably the biggest hit off of this one was the song Why Me? Kind of another cool one, somewhat like spacey kind of theme to the song. For some reason, the song creeps me out, and I've never understood why. And then the last 2, we're sticking in the 80s with the Flirts, Calling All Boys. This from 1982. A lot of fun stuff on here, kind of the not so serious stuff. The one song that most people probably would recognize off of this is the song Jukebox. Don't put another dime in the jukebox. I don't want to hear that. So that was the Flirts off of this album here. And last but not least, my boy George Jackson. This is In Memphis. Again, awesome, great singer-songwriter. He was with, I think, Fame Records and then Kent Records. But yeah, again, if you're not familiar with George, definitely check him out. Even though it's not on this album, if you're not familiar with him, the first song I recommend going to is a song called Search Your Heart. If you listen to that and dig it, dive into George's other stuff. Really, really great artist. So there you go, VC. I know kind of a long video, but stuff kind of stacked up there. But that's kind of what's been spinning over the last few weeks. So as always, let me know what you guys think. Appreciate you stopping by, and we will talk to you soon. All right, take care, guys.